I'd like to thank you all for letting us come here to speak to you tonight. I'm Amy, I'm the president of Bournemouth Road Track Club, and I'm here with Lynette, our district chairman, and Jaya, our treasurer. We're speaking to you tonight about Challenge Homelessness and the community lunch, which is our most recent project. Over the weekend of the 17th and 18th of September, 6 road tractors from Bournemouth Road Tract were sponsored to spend 24 hours on the streets of Bournemouth, hoping to gain a glimpse into the lives of those living homeless. And the following day we hosted a lunch for the homeless. We came up with this idea for several reasons. We hope to raise awareness of homelessness in Bournemouth, to raise funds for local service Michael House, which is part of charity Michael's Limited, who pioneered the first ever night shelter in Bournemouth. We wanted to find out more about challenges faced by those living on the streets and to hear firsthand what life is like from the local homeless community. We wanted to discover attitudes towards the homeless, begging and other related issues, and to highlight the dedication and hard work of local services that support the homeless. We chose to raise funds for Michael House as they have recently had their government funding cut and last year made a loss of £25,000, but they're a really strong organisation that won't give up on the things that they're passionate about doing, helping the homeless. Michael House aims to prevent homelessness through early intervention, empower homeless people to rebuild their lives and get back on the pathway to independent living. There are 33 beds at Michael House for men and women who are supported 24 hours a day. It is a dry house, so the house is alcohol and drugs free. The house provides meals and amenities, a friendly family environment, and supports its service users through accessing counselling, education and training to help boost their self-esteem and increase their independence. Prior to our challenge, we felt it would be helpful to gain an insight into public opinions on homelessness, so we did this through an online survey. 85% of people supported our belief that homelessness is a problem in Bournemouth. When asked the main cause of homelessness, many chose family difficulties, which they felt was the main factor, but they also believed that a combination of factors lead to homelessness. When asked how they would prefer to support the homeless in our town, the majority chose to give money to charities that support the homeless rather than to those begging on the streets, for the fear that it may be used on drugs and alcohol if they gave money directly to the homeless. When asked their opinions of begging on the streets, views were mixed. It was highlighted that people don't do this out of choice, and again the fear came up that money may be spent on drink and drugs. Some people were sympathetic and felt that homeless people slipped through the net and that they need an opportunity to leave the streets, which supported our idea that we need to raise awareness of this issue to gain more support. And other people felt that in a country with a good welfare system, begging should be unnecessary, and this supports our belief that there must be more that we and the government can do on this issue. Now onto the challenge. On Saturday the 17th of September we started off at 9 AM in the morning, and the first challenge we experienced was being inducted and trained in selling the big issue. Once badged up, we went onto our pitches in town and attempted to sell. Responses were quite mixed. The majority of people were polite but declined buying the magazine. However, quite a few people just ignored us. I managed to sell one big issue in 45 minutes, but that was to someone that vaguely knew me, so I managed to buy it. Lynette managed to sell two to strangers, so it was a good job. I did gain around £10 in donations by people who didn't want the magazine but still wanted to help. Their logic was that then I still had an extra magazine to sell, but I felt like I wasn't doing my job properly if I wasn't actually getting rid of the magazine. The whole experience was really hard work and gave us a real insight into the challenges faced by those trying to work to get money and trying to get out of their situation. Being ignored and rejected was very disheartening So for someone experiencing homelessness who is already really low, this must be a really difficult experience.
Following the Big Issue experience, we attended a soup kitchen at the Lansdowne Baptist Church. We were quite surprised that the food was a lot better than we expected. We were just expecting cups of soup, which we've seen at another soup kitchen we've been to, but we were given sausage and mash and baked beans and cake as well and cups of tea. It's just the people that actually work at these places, they're all volunteers and they do such an amazing job with these people. It was interesting talking to some of the service users who were helpful, giving us information and advice on what we could do throughout the day. And we were also told that 120 people came through the doors just in those few hours of the soup kitchen that day. We went on from there to the YMCA, where we experienced the admission process into the hostel. We found out the criteria to get a room and the reasons behind the local connection policy, which service users have sometimes found frustrating. But we found that what it is a lot of people come down to Bournemouth from all over the place, and there's just too many people coming in that aren't from Bournemouth. We had a look round and we ended up having a brief interview on Hope FM, which is what you can see in the picture.
By that time it was about 5:30 and we started to think of our stomachs. We had been prepared that we might not be able to eat for the challenge. Luckily we did manage to eat at the soup kitchen at lunchtime, and so in the afternoon we decided to go down to the local sandwich shops. About 5:30 we thought, oh, they might be throwing some things away. So we got mixed responses. We went to a couple of big chains that said that they had procedures that they had to follow and they couldn't give us anything. We went to a couple of independent shops which were a lot more kind to us, and Lynette managed to get a couple of pasties from one shop, and another shop gave us sandwiches that we ate. One shop, Greg's Bakery, told us that they actually package all their leftovers up and send it back to head office in London, which I thought was very interesting. Not quite sure how truthful that was, but but yeah, we did get some good responses. There was one big chain that actually did give us a meal, just one between 6 of us, but then they asked us not to say who they were in case they got into trouble. So I think there is a lot of red tape surrounding that sort of thing. So once our stomachs were full, we were quite relieved, and we decided to think about keeping warm for the night. We went and we were absolutely delighted to find a recycling bin full of cardboard. You should have seen our faces with our big loads of cardboard under our arms. We went traipsing off. In actual fact, you can see our faces because I think we've got a video.
Yeah, it's meant to just come when you cook it.
Might be loading. Okay,
Right, we'll leave that.
Sorry.
That's all right. After that, we bedded down fairly early, so we could check out where we were sleeping. We were told that there were actually some homeless people that slept outside the church where we were. We didn't actually come across any, but we had to check for needles and things because we were told that they could be around. Around about 11 o'clock, a dog ran into our shelter, and we actually found that quite intimidating. It was running all over our bedding and everything. But the homeless couple with it were quite friendly. Well, they were very friendly actually, weren't they? And receptive, and gave us quite an insight into life on the streets. They were very hungry, so that we gave them some food and also a duvet. Overall, we found the experience cold, uncomfortable and unnerving, and quite a few spiders kept trying to get into our beds as well, which we had to keep stamping out. Although some of us seemed to sleep pretty well, myself and Amy only slept about an hour because we just were feeling on such high alert, and just every noise we heard, we just were wondering what it was, weren't we? So we were very nervous.
So a few pictures of us having a little sleep.
Where was this church?
It's the St Swithin's Church. It's off, which roundabout is it? It's near the BCHA building, and there's the Lansdowne roundabout, and there's another roundabout next to it. It's off there, Jervis Road, I think it is.
So the next day, after our sleep. She didn't really get any old. Instead of going to bed, we decided we would do a community lunch. We wanted to get more of the Bournemouth community involved with our project and just really showcase some organisations that could do with a bit of support at the moment. There's a lot of withdrawal of funding. People have got less money in their own pockets, so they're less, they're giving less and things like that. And also these organisations, they really work hard for the homeless, and they are loved by the homeless people that they work with. So we wanted to celebrate that, get everyone together and unite the community in this aspect, really. We also provided a meal afterwards for the homeless, which it wasn't just a soup kitchen where people come along and sit down and get fed and then they leave. It was people sitting together. Members of Rotary were there, and just everyone talking, learning from each other. It's very different ways of life. So it was really good to have that, everyone sitting together and chatting. There were also organisations and things that were groups that have helped with the homeless, were there at the lunch to offer advice. Some of the homeless people came along just to get advice from their homeless organisations, and they had leaflets and things around so that they could help with things like that. We had talks from BCHA, which are a massive organisation in Bournemouth, doing a lot of good work with the homeless. We had Lewis, who was from Michael House. He's actually a resident, but he was homeless before, and he gave a very heartfelt speech, didn't he, about how his life wasn't worth living before, and he literally feels like Michael House have saved his life. They've given him a reason to move forward. He's got skills now that he didn't have. He's got self-worth, and he's really positive about moving forward to the future, which he really wasn't before. So that there were a few tears when he was speaking. They really were. We also had Mary Randall from Salvation Army, wonderful woman, telling us all about the projects that she does, and even cleaning people's feet, which is, again, I think there were a few tears then. And we had Trisha Drivers talking about a bit more what goes into the background of an outreach or a soup run, where you get the money from, how the food gets cooked, where it all comes from, that sort of thing. So it was really interesting to get a variety of different aspects from the organisations. We had the big issue as well. He gave quite an inspirational talk, so yeah, it was all very good. This is a picture of the presentations that we had with Amy and me with our lack of sleep.
All in all, we faced a lot of challenges over the weekend, but we've gained a really valuable insight into what it is to live homeless on the streets of Bournemouth. I think it can be underestimated what people have to do to survive this way of life. Certainly for us, wandering around all day carrying our belongings and keeping them safe was really tiring, and watching our backs at night was intense. The stories we've heard have been really fascinating, and I think it's important to remember that becoming homeless, it could happen to any one of us. Things might be going well now, but there is actually a rise in single factors such as redundancy that are leading people to the doors of places like the YMCA. So at the end of the day, we're all people with thoughts and feelings. We all make wrong choices sometimes, or have difficult circumstances in our lives, some more than others. And I think it's people like us that are in a position to do so that have a responsibility to listen to these individuals who are struggling and to try and make a difference in their lives. And we hope that what we've experienced will help other people to stop and think and raise awareness of this issue and go some way into making a difference for the homeless people of our town. We want this to be just the beginning of a long-term commitment by Bournemouth Rotary and hopefully Rotary too, to support the homeless in our area. Our next project will be a Christmas meal for the homeless in December, where we plan to provide Christmas dinner and gifts for those living below the poverty line. And we'll also continue working alongside current soup kitchens, talking to the people who've got experience in this area and learning from them whilst we research and plan for further provision, because at the moment on a Thursday and Sunday there is no provision for meals for the homeless. And through speaking to the homeless people, they're quite concerned, especially leading up to winter, the evenings getting darker and colder, that they actually don't have anywhere inside to go, as most of the soup runs are in car parks or outdoors. So that's something we're hoping to look into providing.